There it is.
Hi.
We did not announce this. Sometimes we announce it and say, hey, we're going to be live, and we didn't do that. So no one, it's going to be random
We're
tuning in.
trusting the process
Yeah.
because today we want to talk about trust, and I don't have a reason why. I literally yesterday said to Doug, we need to do a video on trust.
And I trusted you.
And I have no idea why. I literally don't, because I really feel like somebody out there needs a message on trust, to hear a hopeful kind of word on trust.
Well, also, I guess, because I'm leaving tomorrow, and I put a lot of trust in a process that, as well as kind of a reminder, it was like, oftentimes when we do this, we're kind of talking to ourselves too, aren't we?
Yeah, learning how to trust the process.
Yeah.
Hey, Salvatore. Hey, Jen. Hey, Gina. Hey,
Deb.
great to see you guys.
What's going on, kids?
So there's multiple levels of trust that we wanted to talk about today, and just kind of to have a conversation with you about what do you guys think about trust.
And it's just checking in, saying, hey.
Just checking in, because it's been since Thanksgiving. How was it? Was it cray-cray?
Yep,
was it awesome? What happened? Multiple levels of trust. Trust in yourself.
Trust in the universe, trust in each other,
trust in God or the universe, trust in the process, trust in general. And if you don't have trust, how does it show up? How does it manifest when you don't have trust?
I have a story.
I'm shocked.
I have a story.
I'm surprised.
So one day there was this guy, and if you've ever been to California and you see the Pacific Coast Highway, there's the beaches of Malibu to the west, and then to the east there's the redwood forest, and this guy's jogging along and he's doing his thing, and then he slips and he falls, and he's hanging on for dear life, and he's grabbing on, and he hears this stuff. He hears the din of all this stuff going on, and he's like, yeah,
the din, baby.
Yeah. So he's hanging on, and he's like, freaking out. He's like, help, help, help. Is there anybody up there? And there was no answer, and people are just doing their thing, and he's hearing the cars drive by and the honking, and then he's like, help, 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 please, is there anybody out there? And nothing. And then finally, this loud, bellowing voice from above, this is God. Trust and let go. Is there anybody else up there?
Totally. Because that's scary. Who
wants
to do that? Right?
Yeah.
Who wants to trust? How,
and in order to trust, you actually have to have
let
go. Have a blind faith for all of you aged rock stars. I don't remember the name of the band, Blind Faith.
Blind Faith, is that like
that was a band,
hair band?
Supergroup. No, it was Eric Clapton, Stevie Winwood. It was big band.
I think that when you don't have trust, we think it only permeates one area. Well, I trust myself, but I don't trust other people. I trust myself, but I don't trust men. I trust myself, but I don't trust God. And you feel like you can have all these different, thanks for the thumbs. Thank you, Thumbtastic. You have in the hearts, you have all these things where you're like, but how you do one thing is how you do all things. So if you don't have trust, it manifests as anxiety, always kind of waiting on the edge of your seat for the next thing to go wrong, or depression. You're like sad because you feel like there's no hope. So it's not fake until you make it. It's faith until you make it, right? You don't have any faith in the human race or
named that
anything else. Or so guess how it shows up then? Because Doug is familiar with what I'm going to tell you, because boy, I lived it for a long time in our relationship, and I still have to check myself before I wreck myself regularly. And that is, if you have trust issues, you have control issues. Automatic wing, ding, 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 you win the prize, control freak, because you don't have trust, so you need control. And boy, was I a control freak. Because I had the story. The only person I trusted was me, so I needed to make sure everybody else was doing exactly what they needed to do.
And what's interesting is you actually had negative trust. You trusted that things were not going to go the way you desired, expected, or hoped for.
Or that people were going to disappoint me.
Right.
That people were going to disappoint me, so why put my trust in them, and why be open to receive a potential failure that I can't see coming, and likewise prevent from happening because of my super control powers.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the really crappy thing. Before I had a good relationship with God and really understood what my definition was, because I grew up in like the backwoods of West Virginia, Pennsylvania, in a Pentecostal kind of environment where it was like Jesus is listening to your thoughts and you are nasty and vulgar and wrong and he hates you.
And it's true.
Mostly. I mean, no,
No,
Jesus doesn't hate everybody and hate anybody. But I thought that like God would, like, I literally would put my trust in God and then I would say like, well, we'll see how that works out if he feels good about me today. I had no concept of my spirituality. I was really lost because the God I knew didn't like people and punished people. And you had like a checklist and you're like, okay, are
like
you
Santa Claus?
Santa Claus? And you know what I said to Ella the other day? Yeah. She said, Mommy, is Santa watching me? And I said, yes, he is watching you. And guess who else is watching you? Jesus. But the difference between Santa and Jesus is Santa is judging. I really believe that to be true. It's like Jesus became the equivalent of Santa Claus with his naughty and nice checklist, and it's bullshit. From my perspective, now you might, because you need that parameters, and that's okay. I'm not making anybody wrong. But for me, it did not incorporate trust. It did not allow me to trust a God that I thought wasn't for me unless I was doing it right. And that hurt me until I found my own kind of understanding, and then I was able to really trust. You know the story that I heard that changed my life?
No.
Can I tell it?
No.
Okay.
Please.
Okay. Wayne Dyer talks about it. The last time you fully trusted in anything outside of yourself, because I was wrestling with a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression, and I was seeking an answer. And Wayne Dyer told this story about how the last time anybody really trusted in the universe or God was in the womb. Because your ego is not conscious. And so when you're in the womb, you know that you're getting fed.
Man,
everything's going to come right on time. Your eyelashes are going to grow right on time. That tail between your legs is going to turn into something or go inside. It's whatever point, but you're not sitting around freaking out going, am I a girl? Am I a woman? You know, you're not like freaking out like, oh, my arm, what's this nub? You just know. And you relax. You totally trust the universe to give you everything you need. And then you're born, and then you go, no, you can't. If you're born into like dysfunction or born into like trouble or troublesome background, you learn immediately, no, that's wrong. You cannot trust people to meet your needs. You cannot trust. So you need to be careful.
It happens a little bit after.
Some people are born and they don't get picked up. Like the cry it out method, like people are like, oh yeah, train your baby to sleep. Honey, every time you do a cry it out method, all you do is train your baby to give up. Oh, nobody's coming to meet my needs. So while I deal with dysfunctional families, I deal with people with backgrounds of abuse, alcoholism, addiction. That's my jam. And I know for that particular population, trust is one of our biggest issues. It's one of our biggest.
Well, and it's a state as well, a state of trusting. And it's when we're in a calm, collected, present state, we have access to that ability to trust, to connect with God, to connect to something bigger, to connect our being to something more and connect with each other. And we have to trust. And that's creating a state of vulnerability that most people struggle with. And we all do.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to get your sort of success in trust is directly proportionate to how much vulnerability you're willing to expose yourself to. And if you're not willing to get completely vulnerable, you then are not in a state of trust.
So how this shows up, your lack of vulnerability, like for me, who grew up with that like traumatic background, I would get into a relationship with you and immediately start to test you. To just push your buttons and wait for you to abandon me or reject me based upon how crazy can I get, where you're going to throw in a towel and be like, that's a little too cuckoo for my puffs, and I'm out of here, right? It never happened. Holy shit, right? Like,
yeah, because you're a cuckoo.
I'm a certifiable cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But it didn't happen because the vulnerability is what connected us. I was afraid to show myself, stay in control, button it up, only show people the sides of you that they think they're going to approve of. Don't trust people with your weaknesses or your vulnerabilities. But the ironic thing is the vulnerability is what connects you to your partner. Willing to be like, hey, this is me, all of me, the messy stuff, the scary stuff, all of this, the shadow, like Carl Jung, the shadow, right? All of you, and trusting that the act of the vulnerability, like in the womb, the turning it over is part of the being willing to just have faith, right? That ultimately, so I poked you, I prodded you, I tested you, I attempted to get you to leave me. I would try to do anything I could because I didn't trust you.
Yeah, one day we'll share those stories, maybe.
Yeah, we should. In our relationship rehab program that we're creating together, we we'll share all that stuff because it's valuable. Because I was a tough nut to crack. I was like a horse in the wilderness, and
a wild stallion.
A wild stallion needed to be tamed,
no, wait,
and you were like
a wild mare.
A mare, a wild
is
mare,
the
and
man.
you're like, the thoroughbred who's like running the track, like this is life, okay. And I'm like, you're trying to break me in like the horse whisperer and shit.
Yeah.
And I was like.
So that leads to.
I have this one more story about trust after you're all
okay.
done.
Well, there was, not to get all biblical, because Heidi was raised in that environment, the Pentecostal and whatever that vibe was. I don't have much exposure to that, but I
step away from handling snakes.
All right, cool.
All right.
I was raised Roman Catholic, so that was another interesting spiritual thing. And while I still appreciate and I understand the value and why the rituals are there and so forth, it's just it's and here's our cat saying hello. But Christ, there was a time when I believe it was Peter. Christ was walking on the water, and you all know the story of Christ walking on water, but the relevance of that was that he invited Peter out. And when Peter first started walking, when he had trust in Christ and he had trust in the process, he was able to do it. He lost trust. He started to question. He started to lose faith. And that's when he sunk. And that's why we know the story of the walking on water. The relevance was that what Christ was sharing is that everyone can do what he did and more, but they had to trust, they had to believe, they had to have faith. And the times that there was challenges was when people did not have trust, they lost faith. And it's faith in something bigger than, because Christ represented bigger than just him. He represented the Holy Spirit. He represented the whole process. And that's where we fall, is when we lose trust in the process.
And so my trust wasn't in the traditional Christianity because I had a skewed vision of God and judgment and all that kind of thing. So I need to find something outside that I could trust and have faith in the universe in a different kind of way, kind of marry my own. And so for me, that faith I get, right? And I practice that. And I think that's so important. But the answer for really trust came from one lesson for me from the Tao Te Ching, which is what I subscribe to, which was the lesson of the seasons. And so to me, that makes everything make sense. Like when I would be in my darkest winter of my life, when everything was gray and barren and things were pulled from me, and winter's a time of loss, winter's a time of scarcity, winter's a time of, deep, deep reflection of loneliness and isolation in many cases. It's a cold time, right, in winter. But what I know for sure is God's promise, or the universe's promise, is that every winter has a spring. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to beg for it. You don't have to check off a naughty list to say, can I get my spring now? It's coming. No matter what. Every human being, because you're born, deserves a spring. Every human being, because you're born, deserves a summer. And every human being, which is time for, again, a little bit of struggle potentially, but every human being, protecting and defending, and every human being deserves a fall, a windfall, honey, a fall where you reap the harvest. Yes. And that is the universe's promise to you. But again, when you don't trust something, you're like, oh, well, I put my trust in you and bad things happen. Well, honey, there's a winter in everything, in every person, in every relationship.
Well, and as an example, subscribing to this as well, as the idea of planting a seed.
Sowing seeds.
Yeah, you trust that
your faith is the seed that you plant. Right?
Yeah, you trust, you throw it in there, and you trust that nature is going to take its course, and that if you keep picking at it and you keep looking to check and see what are you doing? You're screwing it all up, and then it's not going to happen. But when we trust in it, and that's like a literal experience, but it's also metaphorical, because so often what we do is we try something, one thing, and we give it just a moment. We don't really trust the process.
Right.
And then we don't get the results. And then we say, that didn't work. Plants don't grow. My soil sucks. My relationship sucks. My career, my health, whatever it is, because we're not following through and doing what's necessary to create the ultimate result. And the other thing is very often is that we don't even have a vision. Very often we say something doesn't work. We don't even know what it is and why we want it in the first place.
Yeah.
And we have to trust that inside we have access to that vision.
And if you go by the lesson of the seasons, if that's a thing for you, you can pick up today what we're laying down and you say, okay, guess what? After you plant something in the spring, it does not come until after the summer. You will plant something and there will be a summer where you have to weed and toil and water and continue to tend to, like be a farmer in your life, right? You
Mhm.
don't get a fall until you make it through the summer after what you've planted. So you don't see immediate results in anything. There is this toiling kind of thing. So you can trust the process. The process you follow and I follow, the universe follows. It's the lessons of the seasons. It's the lessons of ebb and flow. The tide comes in, the tide comes out. So I think trust is wanting your life to be a perpetual fall, wanting your life to be a perpetual abundance. And
Gimme.
Yeah, and then, oh, I don't trust anything because it always goes wrong. The shoe always drops. A lot of adult children of alcoholics, like myself, we're always like, oh, on edge for the other shoe to drop. When's the bad thing going to happen? That affects our ability to trust. Honey, the winter's coming. The shoe is going to drop. But just because you're waiting for it, you're going to miss the spring. Guess what happens? You're waiting for the shoe to drop in winter and you miss the fall. That's what happens. So,
well, and also oftentimes we when we create that mindset of, and now getting into like, other programs here, but that idea of the shoe's going to drop, we could actually set that seed and we're manifesting it.
Well, you can make the shoe drop quicker. You can make the shoe drop louder, harder, faster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. The other thing is too, is that whenever you're applying these lessons, when you really understand it and you apply this with the faith and with the other strategies and skills, your winter doesn't have to be so dark.
No,
your winter can be cozy. You could be cuddled up with a blanket.
You could be skiing. You could be snowboarding, and there's all sorts of stuff.
Like even when trauma happens, I recently had something crazy go down. But it was a winter. Clearly, it was a winter. But I maintained a spring mentality. You know what I mean? In the winter, and so my winter wasn't so desperate. My winter wasn't so barren. And we can do that for you too. To help you kind of.
The purpose of this was to connect, not to go into too much teach.
We can't help it. That's what we do.
That's what we do.
I trusted. I'll tell you what happened. I woke up yesterday and I said, you need to teach a lesson on trust with Doug. Get on there and talk about trust. And in the past, I would have said I would have needed to control it. Where is this going? Why am I talking about this? And I need to connect all the dots. I don't know. I trust that you needed to hear it. I trust in this process. I trust in whatever we deliver doesn't always have an outcome, but that we're sowing seeds into you, that somebody needed a seed today. What may not have been for me or for you, but who is it for, right? Because you needed to hear this. Be that baby in the womb. Understand everything comes in divine timing. You will not get it if it's too early. Your eyelashes don't come before the eyes, before they're ready. Your eyes don't open until you're ready to see. God never, ever, authors anything in an untimely fashion. A rose buds in perfect timing, right? Everything, including you. So the other thing is with relationships, I want to end with this little thing here is that, I used to say, I can't trust men. Men always disappoint me, but here's the truth. I could have trusted the men that I was with implicitly, but I choose men who I knew would disappoint me so I could be in control. And then I got to pretend I got blindsided. And I would say, oh, that jerk, I couldn't trust him. No, I knew I couldn't trust him, and that's why I picked him, so I could be in control of my own rejection. I could be in control of my own abandonment. You can trust people to be exactly who they are. You have to pick a righteous one, okay? You can put your trust in anything or anybody. You can trust people to be who they are. Who are you putting your trust in? Where are you putting your trust? Right?
And it is important to trust yourself, and you have to expand it.
You have to expand it.
It's not just about trusting self.
I spent my whole life only being able to count on me. What did I miss out on? A partner, a partnership. I missed out on, I thank God I opened up because, again, divine timing. I wasn't ready. I'm ready. I was ready when I met you.
Nor was I.
Okay. And nor were you ready, right? We were readying for each other. So we want you to have that spirit and know that whatever is happening is in divine timing for you. It's perfectly unfolding. It's exactly the way it needs to be. Even that thing that came out up recently for you where you were like, oh shit, now everything's over, or this is terrible. That's the crack you needed to crack it wide open to let the light in, hun. That's what needed to happen for you. The thing that you think you couldn't trust and it fell apart and it shattered on you. Sometimes when things shatter, we feel like, oh God, I can't trust the process. I need to put it back together myself, right? I need to put everything back together. And I'm going to tell you, some things are not meant to be put back together the way that they originally were. They're meant to make a mosaic, a beautiful mosaic out of those broken pieces, and trust that that mosaic is going to be more beautiful than what you think you've lost and shattered.
Start playing with Legos.
Or start playing with Legos.
But it's
lighten it up, honey. Yes, because you know that my stepdad called me Aunt Heavy. Is that Aunt Heidi? He called me Aunt Heavy because that's how I roll, right? I just want to I don't know. It's too much sometimes. I'm too deep, right?
It was a metaphor. You were talking about the idea of stuff falling apart, but
go outside and break some shit.
Yeah, break the old patterns.
Yes, make a mosaic out of your life. We should do something about that. Yeah, I don't like that.
Well, some people don't like mosaics.
Who wouldn't like a mosaic?
I don't know.
Trust is like a pregnant woman waiting for the baby. It may not be there yet, but there's a knowing and a trust that it will arrive. When we garner that kind of trust, expect miracles.
That's right,
Amen. Seems like every time I put all my trust into someone, all in the end, it seems like it always goes to shit. Then how do you ever trust again? So here's what I want you to understand. The trust that you're putting into somebody is the trust that you're picking those people on purpose because they're going to, you know for certainty they're going to end up disappointing you. You might know intellectually, but you know subconsciously. And you're running a pattern. And that's why you keep picking people who disappoint you and let you down. It's a familiar pattern for you. Your mother did it. Your father did it. You're dating your mother or you're dating your father because you haven't healed from the original wound. Here we go again, Aunt Heavy. Once you get in there and uproot the wound, like I'm a psychological surgeon. I get in and it's not fun sometimes to be like cut open and see, but once you do, it's life-changing surgery. You're like never the same again. It's like a new liver, a new heart, you're like, whoa. So there's a reason you keep putting your trust in people to disappoint you. The payoff is you get to be right that people suck.
And here's the rub. When you do the work, that doesn't mean you still don't have the memories of being screwed up.
Yes.
Or being, trust violated. So that's why you need to work with people to support you through that, to get those clarities, those distinctions, and then walk you through when stuff does happen, to be able to trust the process. And also we got to throw some, it's a good, we're opening up a Pandora's box right now with also, how do you know that someone violated your trust? What are your rules for that in the first place? Where, there's all these other meanings. Like
really deep. Yeah.
We got a spider web right here that, it's like one of those ball of yarns where we start kind of picking apart, and there's elements of all of this going on at one time. And that's why, you have to trust the process, because sometimes you'll hear some things or someone will say something and you go, no, that's not it. That's not it. No way. And then you come around from another perspective, and then you start seeing, oh, I see how that could have led there. And we're going down a pathway that
things look ugly when they're forming, right? And you don't know how to trust the process because you're like, this doesn't look like what I thought it would look like. This is painful. This process is not fun. This is discouraging. This is hurtful. But the reality is that, not everything is pretty.
Well, and the other thing is too, just with all personal growth, and why, again, trusting the process comes to mind, is have you ever cleaned your room or cleaned your house or cleaned your garage? It's a disaster at first. Then it becomes a bigger disaster because now you've ripped everything apart and you're trying slowly to put things back together. And as you do so, you may go, oh, I thought that was going to fit there, but it actually doesn't. It doesn't look right there. And you start shifting it around. And that's where the mosaic comes in, where you have the freedom to try different things emotionally, spiritually, physically, all these things, but it's not, we've been so conditioned to instant gratitude. So we're expecting things to be instant gratification.
Oh, gratitude's on your heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gratitude is the antidote to fear, and fear is not trusting.
Right.
So what can you, so that's good that came out subconsciously.
Mhm.
What can you be grateful for that is the antidote to your fear? You know, you cannot be grateful and waiting for the shoe to drop at the same time.
Well,
It doesn't happen.
your brain won't let it.
Brain won't let it. So get into a state of gratitude. What can you trust? And if you need, maybe you need to work really hard, right? You say, I can't trust anything right now. Well, go out. Can you trust the sky? Can you trust the sun to come up? Can you trust it to be tomorrow?
By the way, you're trusting
not that
the
you're
internet
gonna make
right
it to
now.
tomorrow,
You're-
but can you trust there will be a tomorrow, whether you're here or not? There are certain things that are truths that you can trust. Okay, look for those, and then understand that you're crafted of that same universal mind. That if nature can be trusted to an extent, right, that way, then so can life, so can your life. It's functioning under the same reign. REIGN.
Mm. That was good.
It was?
Yeah.
Thanks,
that was good.
honey.
You're welcome.
Aw. All right.
So we
Hi.
went, hey all, and we didn't even go back. I saw Mark chimed in, Rick, Todd. We miss all you. We did this spontaneously. Deb, we spoke to Sal. Mark, waiting for D to call. So Mark, I was actually with Joe the other day, and I don't know if you're still here. And he said you guys all went out to lunch. Why don't you schedule it? Should have made it happen, brother. I spoke to AD about doing a fat reunion, Mach 2, with me, Mikey, and Gaz. So I trust it can happen.
My dream. This is my dream because I didn't meet you in your rock star days. And I want to go to a show and have you play out so I can have that experience of like the lusting girl in the audience who thinks you're going to go home with her at the end of the night. And I'm spending my entire night making eye contact with you. I've never done this before.
Yeah.
I'm spending the entire night making eye contact and flirting with you.
Yeah, you never have flirted with me or eye contact or with other people. I'm trying to, where are you taking this?
I'm saying I've never did that with somebody in a band before.
Yeah, of course not.
Okay.
So,
but let it be you. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah,
I could just look. I could pretend you don't know me.
We gotta see if we can
wear
find
leather pants.
the mini disc or the ADAT tape. So anyway, that being said, we love you for who you are and who you aren't, and we will see you kids soon. And as always, any questions, comments, please share, please comment, and if you have anything that you'd like us to cover, please let us know.
All right, love you.
Bye.
Bye.